let me just start with some instruction for the different men who are recording some of these devotionals. Lemuel has asked me to ask you guys a couple things. One is if you could make sure you turn your camera sideways, that would greatly help us. Again, turn your camera sideways. Don't face it up and down like this. It does a vertical video. If you can turn it sideways, that'll help us. Make sure you're close enough. The lighting is good as well. You can just do a test video to make sure that it's recording okay and the audio is good, that the lighting is good. And then as well, if you could keep it between 3 and 5 minutes, not 35, but between 3 and 5 minutes, that will help us with the uploading of that video. So again, 3 to 5 minutes. And then also, if I can point out, put your camera, go into your settings display, go into camera, and then check the setting for recording. Make sure that's at 1080p. And if you can find the 30 FPS or 30 frames per second, I know that might be technical for some of you, but that'll do a better quality than say it's 720. So set it at 1080, all right? And again, keep it between 3 and 5 minutes. And then, just a quick thought. And if you have more, if you say, I need more time, then break it up into 2 devotionals or 3 devotionals, and we can upload those so folks can watch those, okay? Let me draw your attention to Psalm 139 as I've been preparing for Wednesday evening and looking at memorizing and reviewing these verses. I want to draw our attention to verse number 13 down through verse number 18. And I'll just read, I won't say a lot, I'll just read these as we think about how God's thoughts are to us, for it, as I talked about on Sunday morning in the message, God remembering us. And verse 13 says, "For thou hast possessed my reins, thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. My substance was not hid from thee when I was made in secret, when I was curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. How precious also are thy thoughts unto me, O God! How great is the sum of them! If I should count them, they are more in number than the sand. When I awake, I am still with thee." And as I think of verses 13 to 18 of Psalm 139, I think about, again, how it says there in verse 17, "How precious also are thy thoughts unto me, O God! How great is the sum of them!" And right from the moment of conception, when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth, speaking of his mother's belly, when he was curiously wrought, and when it says that his members, that's in verse number 16, "Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them." And right from the very beginning and formation of life, your life and my life, God is aware of us. It says, "Thine eyes," verse 16, "thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect." Before we're completely formed and have grown in our mother's belly, right from that very point, God's focus is upon us. And God has a purpose for every one of us. And maybe you're a young person, or maybe you're a middle-aged person, or maybe you're older in years and more mature in years, and you feel that God doesn't have a purpose for you. God doesn't have anything for you to do. God does have a purpose. And right from conception, God has had a plan for your life, and God has a purpose. And I'm thankful that God is very aware of each and every one of us. Right from the very get-go, God has thoughts towards us. Again, "How precious also are thy thoughts unto me. How great is the sum of them." And I love that closing of verse number 18. "When I awake, I am still with thee."